Welcome to ThinkTech, where we are raising public awareness on technology, energy, diversity, and globalism. I'm your host, Wil Kahele, sitting in for Donna Blanchard from Kumukahua Theater, and this show is Center Stage. Today, my guest is Michael Gralapp, an American businessman who found himself living in China, having lost a battle for his business. He cheered himself up along the road of fiscal recovery by getting involved in local theater. He now is a sought-after actor on stage, film, and television in Beijing, as well as an executive recruiter in the talent industry. Let's welcome Michael. Michael.
Hi, aloha everyone. And I'd like to send a shout out to my wife and my daughter who are actually visiting Honolulu. Well, my daughter lives there, but my wife is visiting, so they're in Honolulu today while I'm in Beijing. So imagine that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Hey, Michael, so I read a little about your bio as we were talking earlier, and as I was saying, this is the stuff of fairy tales, how you came to do what you're doing up in Beijing. And before we get to that, tell me what you did here in Hawaii that led you to Beijing in the first place.
Well, I actually got involved in China because I was working actually in Honolulu, and a friend of mine, I had a business there, and we were doing really doing resort stores around Asia. A friend of mine, his father was making a trip to China, and I had never been to China, and he asked me if I would travel with him because he was looking into some retail. And so I made the trip with him because I thought it would be exciting, and it was. But not only did he look at retail, but he was also interested in, at that time, what was considered the new cable TV industry, which was just really springing up in China. And he was interested in investing in that. And so we also traveled all over China and went to the cable stations. I got on a plane. I was flying back to Honolulu, and I was thinking to myself, cable TV, retail, home shopping, and I got the bug to open a home shopping company in China. And I started to do that. I hooked up with a company in LA and then a company in Australia. And actually, to make a long story short, we opened the first home shopping company in China called TVSN, and which is today the most successful home shopping company in China. And that's how I got started. And then one thing led to another. I took a year off sabbatical, went back to Honolulu, and then I came back and I worked for CCTV, and I was the first foreigner, that's China Central Television, and kind of like NBC, ABC, and CBS all rolled into one. And I was the first foreigner to work for them, and then I opened an advertising agency, and it just, things started to blossom. I moved my family over here in 2000. My daughter Sophie went to all of high school in Beijing. She's back at Manoa, and as an assistant and taking some courses there. And it's just been kind of a roller coaster ride ever since.
Wow. So when you were here in Honolulu, before you went to Beijing, you did a little bit of television or...
Well, I actually was in, my first of all, I always loved the entertainment business. I love an audience. Always have loved an audience. And I was involved in a TV show that was called Jake and the Fat Man. Maybe you remember that?
Yes. I remember that.
It was in nine or 10 episodes. So I sort of had the bug, but at that time I was the president of a company in Honolulu. So when I would take a day off of work to go work on set, it actually cost me money because, as a shall we say, a low-level actor in a TV series, you don't get paid very much.
Right.
And also I have a black Mercedes 420 SEL, which is kind of a classic, and so after I was in the TV series in Honolulu, they used to use my car. So when I get a call from my agent, I was never sure if they were going to ask to use me or my car. And sometimes I got paid more when they used my car. So, there you go.
So okay, so now we know where, how you got to Beijing, and you auditioned for your first show up there, which was Guys and Dolls. to help you get out of your funk, out of your depression. And then you got bit by the bug,
That's right.
and
Really
then
bit by the
you
bug.
just kept doing shows after show after show. I went to the website, to the Beijing Playhouse website, and man, they've got a lot of stuff. I mean, it's like the what I'm thinking is like the theater mecca up there for
Well,
expats or something.
well, actually, Beijing Playhouse was started by a guy actually from Maui named Chris Verrill, who
Oh,
had Chris has 25 years of directing experience, and he came to Beijing and he started Beijing Playhouse. I got involved about a year later, and I sit on the artistic advisory board and also the management board now.
uh-huh.
But we do English language theater in China, and we subtitle in Mandarin. Now, can you imagine that we have to have somebody live, like the person behind the screen, who's listening to the actors and actually moving the dialogue as the actors are talking, because we have to do live subtitling. And when we started, we did a Christmas Carol, and about 10% of our audience was Chinese, and 90% of our audience was expats, because we actually set it up so expats would have some, some English entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
Today, 8 years later, 90% of our audience is Chinese, and 10% of
Wow.
our audience is, and we sell out every show. So it became quite an exciting thing for us. So yeah, and we also do kids camps. So we do getting young Chinese kids involved in theater. So
I
yeah,
saw
Chris did a
that.
great thing, and I've been lucky enough to be sort of by his side this last 8 years and take part in it.
Yeah, that's great. I saw the tribute video that they did for you. I think it was from the Snow White cast.
I'm sorry, say that again.
I saw the tribute video they did for you from the Snow White cast.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, that was kind of an interesting story because I directed a panto version of Snow White in 2012, and in June of that year, I got cancer, and the doctors actually told me that I wouldn't be able to direct the play, which we were running auditions for in September. But being a hard-headed American like I am, I didn't listen to them.
Uh,
And after the operation, I was on 6 months of chemo. So while I was directing the play, I was in the throes of chemo treatments. But I didn't let the cast or crew know until right before we went on our first our opening night. And so I was pretty sick during that, and I think that it was inspiring for them, but it was certainly inspiring for me. Because the interesting thing was that if you've ever known or been on chemo, it's really debilitating treatment, and I was sick quite a bit. But you know what? When I would walk into the theater and we would start rehearsing, I would forget all about it.
right.
It became it was tonic. And then I'd get in the taxi to go home, and I'd be like almost passing out. But for the 3 hours that we were rehearsing, I was golden.
Right. It was
And
very
actually,
therapeutic for you.
the sequel to that story is that I go back to the hospital once every 90 days, and I give a lecture to the doctors on what it's like to be a patient and how you can function as much as you can let yourself function. So
Oh, that's
it's an interesting life here, I have to tell you.
yeah, it's a very interesting life, and I see you're directing plays now over there.
I'm sorry.
You're also directing plays.
Yes,
Beijing?
I directed Snow White, Cinderella, the Wizard of Oz, and A Christmas Carol. So I directed 4 or 5 of their plays, and then I also act in a lot of them. I played Oscar Madison in The Odd Couple, which to this day is still one of my favorite roles.
Mhm.
So
I saw, well, not I saw, but a lot of people ask me as I do some acting here as well as directing, and they always ask me, which do I like best, acting or directing? So I'm going to ask you that question. Which do you like best, acting or
Oh,
directing?
people ask me that all the time. I tell them it's like apples and oranges.
Right.
I mean, there's a definite difference to me, and I enjoy both, but for different reasons. I love directing because I love being involved in every aspect of the play, from, sort of like from script to stage. And but it's totally different than acting, because when I'm acting, I'm only worried about me. I'm only worried about my lines. I'm only worried about my character. But when I'm directing, I have to be worried about everybody's lines and
Right.
everybody's character. And I just don't think there's anything more rewarding in theater than having the curtain close and the audience love your play and know that you did that. It's like a painting.
Right.
And
Right.
every play is different. You know this. You're a director. Every play is different. I don't care if 100 people do The Odd Couple. It will be different every time, because it has the director's input and vision. And even though the script is the same, the play will be different. So you get to do something unique. In film, I always tell people the difference between film and theater is instant gratification. I work in film here,
Right.
and sometimes I don't even see the shows, or sometimes they come on 6 months later. But every night when the curtain closes and the audience applauds, you get that instant gratification. There's nothing like it.
Right.
Excuse me. I'm just getting over a cold, so you have to forgive me.
Oh, sure. Of course. So, so definitely, so you think about, as a director, every aspect of the production, from the lights to the music, if there is any, to the set design, and you have all that in your head almost, like you said, like a painting. And then when you finally present it to an audience, you have it all right there, and it's it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. And people, the audience is really forgiving too. Live theater, anything can happen. And I think the audience comes in, and it's a different kind of excitement in the air than in say a cinema. But so I would have to say, to really, that was a long answer to a short question, but I like them both equally. I think I continue to act because I think acting makes me a better director, because you have to know how the actors are feeling, right? You have to be in the actor's head. You have to know how to motivate the actor. And if you haven't had to have that pressure yourself, then how can you do that? So for me, it's important that I do both.
Right.
To be good at both, I think. And also the same as when I'm in a film and a director is telling me what to do, I listen, because I know that the director is the person with the vision for the whole thing. Right. In their mind, they're putting each piece together. You may not see the whole vision, but the director does. As long as you do what the director says, then you'll be successful, right. is my opinion. That is, of course, if the director knows what they're doing.
Yeah. You got to trust the vision. Okay, Michael, we're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back to Center Stage at ThinkTech.
Hi, I'm Donna Blanchard. I'm the host of Center Stage here on ThinkTech Hawaii. Center Stage airs every Wednesday at 2 o'clock, and of course you can check out our archives on YouTube or on ThinkTech Hawaii anytime you like. Why should you do that? Because this is an arts show that I believe is making a difference in lives. We talk with artists of various ilk. We talk with painters and writers, playwrights, novelists, poets, sculptors, dancers, you name it, directors, actors, of course. And we don't only talk about what people do, but we talk about how they do it. And my favorite part of the conversation, we talk about why they do it. And it's really common on this show to hear people say, wow, I didn't think about it that way. And it's very common to hear people afterwards who have seen the show say the same thing. And I hear all the time that people are inspired by the conversations that we have. So why don't you join us and be inspired too? That's Center Stage on Wednesdays at 2 o'clock. We'll see you Center Stage.
Right in Honolulu.
Hi, we're back at Center Stage at ThinkTech Hawaii, and my guest today is Michael Gralapp. I'm Wil Kahele, and I am sitting in for Donna Blanchard, Managing Director of Komukahua Theater. We've been talking with Michael. So, Michael, I know that you've gotten into film also, yes?
Yes, that's true.
And you've done quite a bit of movies, and in your bio it says you're a sought-after actor, and you've done a lot of projects there, and a lot of Chinese audience is huge. Can you tell us a little?
I know. You know, people don't understand how big the audience is in China. I'm involved in actually, it's this kind of interesting because when Donna first asked me to do the show, we were actually filming a TV series at the time, which had not been released. But it started running October 15th and it finishes December 15th. And it's called Love Me If You Dare. And it's a Chinese crime drama. And I play a retired FBI agent who comes over and helps them on a serial killer case. And right now, 10 episodes have aired. There's still 14 more to air. And the audience is over 440 million people.
Wow.
Can you imagine that? 440 million people have watched this show. It's the #1 TV show for 2015 already in 10 episodes, and it may be the #1 TV show ever in China. So to be part of something like that I sort of just fell into is pretty exciting.
That is exciting, Michael. You are blessed, let me tell you.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know, man. God's been good to me. What can I say?
Yeah. Do they recognize you on the street when they see you?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Are you recognized on the street? Do people come up to you?
Oh yeah, actually, it's funny because there's kind of like two kinds of productions that happen here. I either play in a lot of their war dramas. I either play a general. I played George Marshall. I played a Russian general, Baranov, Alexander Baranov. I play Winston Churchill a lot. I'm kind of their Winston Churchill. I played him 4 times, if you can imagine. This summer, I played him in a movie called Cairo Declaration. I also played him in a TV series called Eastern Battlefield. And so I've been in several movies as Winston Churchill. And but to be able to play in something modern, so those war dramas in China, only people over 50 watch those, right? So I mean, when I go out outside of Beijing, I get recognized a lot because they don't get the breadth of entertainment choices that they get in big cities. So I get recognized a lot. But in Beijing, not so much because it's a younger population and they don't watch it. But when something young's on, yeah, I get recognized, and it's pretty interesting. I actually got asked for my I only say this because I recorded it. I got asked for my autograph the first time on September 22nd, and that was pretty exciting. I mean, I'm sure professional actors that are famous are used to that, but I'm a guy from Hawaii. I'm not used to that.
Right.
So it was pretty exciting stuff. Yeah. So I do get recognized. My wife calls it sightings. Like we'll be walking down the street and somebody will be taking my picture and she'll go, "Oh, a sighting."
Well, you better get used to that. Sounds like you're really popular.
I love the Chinese people. They're really they really love entertainment and they love their stars and stuff. So it's pretty cool.
I see you were also in the Empire of the Deep. How was that?
Empire of the Deep. Actually, I played. Yeah, Empire of the Deep was probably the most expensive movie ever made in China, and I played. It was actually. It's kind of like Pirates of the Caribbean meets 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. Meets Spartacus. I think they tried to do about 5 different movies in one. But I played a merman. I played the general of the merman army. And my queen was actress Olga Kurilenko, if you know who she is. She was actually the Bond woman in Quantum of Solace. So that was pretty exciting. It took 5 hours to do my costume, and I also had to shave my head for the part. So that was because
yeah,
you know they
that
had a
seemed
fan on
really
my head. So yeah.
a lot of CGI in that. Lots of CGI.
What was that? I'm sorry, you're breaking up a little.
I'm sorry. There's a lot of CGI in that movie.
It was exciting to be in it, but I wouldn't say. I mean, they don't know how to do the action movies quite as well as we do in the States.
Mm-hmm.
That's for sure. And also it's interesting in China because a lot of the investors are newly wealthy Chinese businessmen who don't know a lot about the movies. So there is it goes from being able to do A kind of movies to D kind of movies, and everything in between. So there's a lot of productions that go on here, but the entertainment industry in China is just exploding right now, and it's only going to get bigger. They're building the biggest film studio in the world in Qingdao, China. So everybody wants a piece of this market as well. I don't know if you know this, but right now China is the #2 ticket purchasing country in the world behind the U.S.
Wow.
And in 2 years, China will be the #1 movie ticket purchasing country in the world. So all of Hollywood knows that, so everybody wants a piece of China.
Yeah. So do you see yourself producing anything in the future?
Oh, I'd love to produce. Actually, I'd love to produce music. When I was young, I was a drummer, and I've never lost that musical kind of root. And I think that even when I started acting, the first thing I ever acted in was a musical.
Yes,
I love to sing, and I love music, and my dream is to go back to Hawaii and open a studio and be a producer of music. That's what I'd love to do. But while I'm here, I'd love to direct a movie. So my goal is if I could direct a movie here, I would really like that to really direct, not just stage, but also to be able to direct a movie.
Do you know what kind of movie that would be? Something American or Chinese in nature?
Well, it's interesting because China. I mean, for instance, the TV series that I'm in, it's called Love Me If You Dare. Mm-hmm. China's becoming very international. They say in 10 years, more people will speak English in China than the rest of the world combined. So many of the productions, actually, for instance, in Love Me If You Dare, I speak all my lines in English, but the actor that works with me speaks all his lines in Chinese, and that's how they produce the movie. They do use subtitles, but the English speakers speak their language, the Chinese speak theirs, and the audience here accepts that because that's kind of how people live, especially in the big cities. Right. Everything is, it's kind of a mixture of English and Chinese. So it's not unusual for them at all to see a Chinese actor saying his lines to you, and then you say your lines back to him in English. So I think I would like to produce what I would consider to be an international project here, and that's maybe possible. Anything's possible. I'm 61 years old, and I still I still believe dreams can come true if you stay pointed north.
Yeah, I'm gonna take that advice. I love to see it, right in front of me, and your story is just amazing. When I started in theater, I just kind of fell into it. I did an audition for my voice teacher, and then I got caught up in being pirate number 37 in the Pirates of Penzance, and that was my first musical. And after that, it just bit, and I've been in plays and independent movies and commercials and stuff, and it's like I've been doing it forever. But I think I just hit my 20th year back in 2012. I made 20 years in the business. So
wow. Well, see, you have me beat.
No, but yours is way huger than I could ever be. So, So, I mean, that's just
And,
awesome.
you know, it's like so many things. A lot of it is just being at the right place at the right time.
Right, right.
But for that to happen, you got to buy a ticket. You know what I mean? I mean, you got to take the chance. You gotta explore, and you've got to be able to take a risk, and you've got to be fearless.
Right.
I think what stops people so many times in this business, but not only this business, is fear. And, you know, can I do it? Will I do it well? What if I'm no good? What if they don't like me? Well, you know what? If you're going to be in the entertainment business, you got to get used to rejection, because you know, you could go to I know, because when we do a play, we'll have 200 people audition for 30 spots. That means 170 people aren't going to get a spot. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, yes, yes.
So it's easy to get discouraged, but you just can't get discouraged. I mean, I'm not saying that to you. You're a professional, but I say that to public. You can't get discouraged. You have to stick to your guns.
I mean, you know, you just might not be what they're looking for. You may not be the right fit, and it's nothing personal, you know, and you just go on to the next project, and it's okay.
That's right. That's right. And you know what? There's so many exciting things happening right now in entertainment in the world, with online and, you know, I mean, Netflix. And I mean, when we were young, I assume I'm older than you, but, you know, when we were, you didn't have all those choices. So choices create competition, but it also creates opportunity. And so, you know, having all these different venues to be able to produce and see entertainment is just good for everyone, you know.
Yeah, yeah. There was something I wanted to ask you, and it escaped me. I will ask you after the break. Let's take a break right now. Just want to remind everybody that you're at ThinkTech Hawaii at Center Stage. Wil Kahele sitting in for Donna Blanchard. We'll be right back.
Aloha, this is Reg Baker, and I am the host of Business in Hawaii. We talk about positive stories of businesses in Hawaii, how they have been successful, and how they have overcome some of the obstacles that a lot of us encounter when we try to have a business here. And believe it or not, there are a number of positive stories here, and we want to talk to all of you. So we broadcast live every Thursday at 2 o'clock, and it rebroadcasts again on Olelo Channel 54. So I sure hope to see you next time. Please tune in on Thursdays at 2 o'clock. Thank you.
Aloha! How you doing? It's me, Angus McTech, wishing you to welcome and join us to see us on Hibachi Talk on ThinkTech Hawaii. Join my co-hosts, Gordo the Tech Czar and Andrew the Security Guy, every Friday from 1300 to 1345. We look forward to seeing you. We'll talk tech and we'll have some wee bit of fun. And remember, let your wing gang free wherever you be. Aloha!
Hi, we're back at Center Stage, ThinkTech Hawaii. My name is Wil Kahele, sitting in for Donna Blanchard, and my guest today is Michael Gralapp. Hi, Michael. Welcome back.
Hi.
So, Michael, what I wanted to ask you was, at that time when you did your first audition, when you did your audition for Guys and Dolls, I believe, yes? Did you ever think that if you never did it, if you never went to that audition, if you never just said, okay, I'll do it, and if you didn't do it, where would you be right now?
Well, honestly, I would not be in the business. I mean, Beijing Playhouse is what opened my eyes. But let me tell you a little story. So, you know, I told you I didn't really want to go and audition. And my head was kind of in a bad place.
Right.
I just lost my business. My wife and my daughter were hammering me to go to these auditions, and I really only went to get them off my back. So honestly, if it wasn't for them, I don't know if I would have done it. So I go to audition, and I walk in the theater, and you know, I give my name, and I look, and the theater's full. There are a lot of people auditioning, and kind of interesting. So we each had to get up and sing a song, and you know, I mean, can you imagine, right? I mean, I was not at that time what I would consider to be an entertainer. So I had to get up on a stage and sing a song a cappella. So that there was a Chinese girl auditioning in front of me, and she got up and she sang 10 Little Indians. You know the song? One
Yes.
little, two little, three little Indians. And when she finished, everybody applauded. And I thought, oh God, this is going to be a breeze, okay? Because that was just terrible. But so I got up and I sang a Randy Travis song because I thought, that would be a song I knew all the words to. And so I sang the song, and when I finished, you could have heard a pin drop. Not a person clapped or did anything. And I was ready to run out the door. And then in the very back row, someone stood up and said, "What's your name?" And I told them my name, and it turned out that was the music director of the play.
Wow.
But I was still embarrassed, and I actually tried to sit close to the door because I wanted to leave. But I was so embarrassed. But in the end, the music director liked me, and the director liked me, and I got a role. So everything happened from my wife and my daughter pushing me to audition, and Chris Verrill and Nancy seeing something and giving me a chance to do this role. And I really loved playing Big Julie. It's so fun to play something you're not. I mean, to play a gangster, to wield a gun, it was heady stuff. And I really couldn't go home at night after rehearsals. I couldn't go to sleep at night. I would be so excited. And after the shows, really, I'd be awake till 2 in the morning. I could not go to sleep after the shows. I'd be so excited. So that's how it all began. And then I got to play Oscar Madison in The Odd Couple, and honestly, that was 40 pages of dialogue, over 450 lines to memorize, and I didn't know if I could do it. I'd never had to do something like that, and so the feeling of accomplishment the first night that show, we got a standing ovation when the curtain closed. That was it. I was hooked, hook, line, and sinker. So, if it was consistent enough, that's all I would do. But unfortunately, most actors are starving actors.
Yes.
I've been in a lot of projects, but you have to be in a project all the time to make a living at it.
Right, exactly. So Michael, are you doing something right now? Are you in a project right now?
No, actually, I'm not involved in a production now, except for Love Me If You Dare, which is on air, but we already, that was already in the can a couple months ago. Mm-hmm. So no, I don't have anything going now. So now I concentrate on my, I work for a company called Lucas GC, and I'm the guy that does the entertainment fills. So I'm really working more, I call it my day job.
Right.
So I'm spending more time, working on, but that's, for me, it's kind of like the same. I get to meet people in Hollywood. I get to talk to important people in the film industry all over the world. It's kind of a rush itself also.
Yeah, it sounds like, that's such a busy job that you have during the day. And then, like if you do theater, you have to devote your time to learning lines and rehearsing at the theater, or even rehearsing on set.
When I go out if I'm going to direct a play, that takes about, it's 6 months of work before we ever have auditions. When I'm in a play, it's 3 months of work. And whenever I go out for a play, or audition for a play, my wife always says to me, "See you in 3 months," because usually the rehearsals are in the evenings and on weekends, and the performances are in the evenings and on weekends. So I go to my day job, I leave my day job, go to the theater, I get home about 10 or 11 at night. That's how it works.
Wow.
So for 3 months, she doesn't see me. When I do a TV show or a movie, usually it's being filmed over a period of time, like 3 months to 6 months. Mm-hmm. And even if I had 40 days of shooting, they're spread out over the time. So literally I take time off from my work to go and be in those performances.
So is your wife involved in the business at all, or?
Oh, no. Actually, it's interesting because my wife actually does audio dubbing, English audio dubbing, and my wife is beautiful, and all my agents are always asking me to ask her to audition. But she just is not comfortable in front of the camera, and although she should be. So she does voice work, but she won't. She's done a couple of jobs, but it's just not for her. It really isn't for everybody. first of all, it's not as glamorous as it sounds. It's always glamorous when the stuff works, but it's long days. When we shot in Love Me If You Dare, there's this. I actually get killed in that show at the finale, and we started filming at 7 in the morning, and we finished at 3 in the morning. So that's a lot of time on set and a lot of downtime. It's not always fun. The end result is always fun. The process sometimes is challenging, and it's not for everybody.
Right. Don't get me wrong. I love being on set, and I love being on film and stuff. But I love doing voiceover work too, because it's just you in the booth and your director outside, and you can go in your play clothes, and
Yeah,
you
sure.
you don't have to put on makeup, and you don't have to do your hair, and you can just have fun, doing what you're doing. So,
Oh yeah. It's totally different. I've done a couple of dubbing jobs, so I know what you mean. And yeah, I mean, when I was in Empires of the Deep, and it took 5 hours to do costume, we would get up at 4 in the morning, and we'd be in costume from 4:30 till 9:30. And then be on set from 10 till midnight.
Yeah. And your costume looked very. There was a lot to it. It looked enormous. You had the big claw or something on your.
Oh yeah. I had it was quite something. Yeah, they would glue me into the bodysuit, and then of course they had to paint my hands and my face and shave my head and put on a. Yeah, it was quite a lot.
How long did it take to?
The claw weighed about 10, 15 pounds.
Yikes.
So just when I was in fight scenes and I had to wheel that thing around, and you know what? I'm an old guy. That was really a dream true. I mean, I did my own stunts, and I'm not a stunt guy. And believe me, I went back to my room bloody and bruised and.
You're probably muscular on one side.
But I said to my kids, I said, can you imagine at my age I get to be a action hero? I mean, how cool is that, right?
Yeah, that is cool. That is cool. You're probably muscular more on one side than you were the other from lifting that 10-pound arm up all the time. But yeah, that was amazing. Let's see. So anything on the horizon for you?
Anyway,
any projects on the horizon?
Well, no, I have a really good agent, and I would say I usually get a project or two a year. There's a couple of Jackie Chan movies coming up that they're talking about having me audition for, but honestly, no, I don't have anything in the pipeline now. But that'll change. It always does. And you never know when. Right when you think nothing's going to happen, you'll get a call and something will happen. So,
do any production companies from the U.S. Approach you and try to get you for film projects or?
Well, I do a lot of, I don't do as many now, but I used to do a lot of commercials, and I think I've probably done 70 or 75 commercials. So I do get asked to do commercials a lot. But I actually have stopped doing that because I'm so busy in my day job, and so I prefer to do projects. But I also have to turn some projects down if they ask me to be on set for 30 or 40 days in a row. I usually turn the project down because I really can't afford to let my day business ride that long. So for me, it has to fit into my ability to fit it into my time and my schedule. So if they approach me on a project that's, let's say, it's 30 days of filming over 6 months, then I'll take it. Or, I mean, the most days I've spent on set is 40. The most days I've ever spent on set in a row is a week. So it has to fit into my time frame, basically. Excuse me.
Well, if they ever need someone ethnic looking like myself, you can, I'll come over to Beijing if.
Well, listen, Will, I'm an entertainment recruiter, so send me your bio and your CV because you never know. And also, they do import talent. When I played Winston Churchill in the Cairo Declaration, I think 80% of the foreign actors were brought over from the States.
Wow.
Only a few were actually hired from here. So So yeah, for sure, send me your bio.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, I was kind of kidding, but hey. I'll do that
Hey,
for
you know,
sure.
we gotta do, you know, one thing about actors and one thing I love about creative people is we got to take care of each other.
Yes, yes, definitely.
And you know, it's
definitely.
that way when you're on stage. It's that way when you're in a performance. You're part of a team, right? I mean, I tell you that I only concerned about my lines, but that's not true. We help each other out. You know, when you've been on stage, you know what it's like. I mean,
Yes.
sometimes an actor drops a line or something happens. The key is to never let the audience know. You know, as
Right.
long as the
Yes.
audience doesn't know you blew it, then you're fine.
Right.
And sometimes the only way that happens is another actor, you know, helps you out and ad libs or does something that brings you back into to your lines. So, you know, one thing about creative people, we're very loyal to each other.
Right. And we, you know, yeah, you got to try to keep that ball in the air, you know, and never let that ball hit the floor. And one thing that I've always loved about theater and about acting was that we all come from so many different walks of life. And then and we all come to this place where we all are the same. We all share something in common. And it's, you know, the love of theater and the love of acting and the love of your craft. And, you know, you always want to learn more.
Absolutely. When people ask me why I do what I do, I tell them I do it for love of theater. I mean, we get, you know, it's just, it's got to be something that you feel inside. And, you know, when I first did my first play, Guys and Dolls, you know, the feeling, the camaraderie that I felt with other actors, the relationships that were built in those 90 days that we worked together were relationships that go on for years because you've done this one special, unique thing together that you'll always remember.
Mm-hmm.
When I coach actors, when I'm directing, I tell them, you know what, you don't know this, but 30 years from now, you're going to be bouncing your granddaughter, your grandson on your knee, and you're going to say, you know what? One day, way back, many years ago in China, I was in a play. I mean, you never forget them. They're like chapters in a book. You know what I mean?
Yes, yes, yes. And you make a really good group of friends in theater and acting too. Your friends you have forever.
Yeah, and yeah, it's really, I think about every project I do, everybody I meet, I think about them as, you know, more chapters in my book of life, so to speak.
Oh, that's nice. Well, you know, Michael, we are winding up our interview today, and you know, really, it was so great talking to you and meeting you, and you are such a great guy. You're such a nice guy. It's like, I want to have you for my friend.
No, you made it easy, Will. You made it easy. Don't worry.
You're like this big executive in Beijing, and I'm like, I get to talk to him. Holy cow. You know, but thank you so much for sharing and for giving us motivation. I'm taking a whole group up to China, so, so be ready for it.
You know, it's you know, life is what you make it, Will. Life is what you make it. But
Exactly.
hey, I look forward to staying in touch with you, really, and send me your bio.
Okay, sure, I sure will. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure talking to you. It was a pleasure meeting you, and best of luck to you in all your future endeavors. I'm going to be watching you.
Thank you, Will. Thank you. And thank Donna for me. And aloha, everyone in Hawaii.
Aloha. Well.